to our final speaker, Dr. Sue Jameson. And you know our intuition.
The wound is where the light comes in. And this is interesting, isn't it? Because perhaps as doctors and therapists, I've been a doctor for 30 years, as a Scottish trained GP for 30 years, we somehow have more of an insight into this area than other people. So the wound is where the light comes in. You can see this in a lot of ways. Psychologically, the areas we have challenges with, we find threatening, is perhaps, things that trigger us is perhaps where we should be looking, and we can find most healing in that. So my trauma is today is that because I'm a wounded healer, I'm quite anxious. So I was up at 5 this morning with asthma and I'm a bit tired, but still walking and talking, thankfully. Interesting that so I've done a lot of humanitarian work, and I'm always asked in Southeast Asian countries before the aid workers get there. And I'm even quite traumatized watching these, videos about the latest Indonesian disaster. Anyway, let's talk about the subject matter, which, as Claire Gerard has said, the business of medicine is a relationship activity between people. And thank the Lord that is still the case. In these days of AI and IT, AI, artificial intelligence, everyone, in my neck of the woods in Hong Kong, they think it's just going to take our jobs. I think not. So this is really the area of non-verbal communication, isn't it? But what I'm talking about here, because it's how we interact with others. And I believe that there's going to be a lot of help in this area to keep us less stressed and more whole. We can talk about light later. However, you recognize this sort of scenario. You're angry, or you're tired, or you're drained by people. We know about psychology, transference and counter-transfers, but what is that all about when, suddenly you start feeling angry when you're with someone? I mean, that is an energy thing, right? So what I've done, and I'm quite proud of this work, I have a theory of the science behind this and the methodologies that one would use to use it to our advantage as therapists. We have bad feelings and premonitions, basically about difficult patients, right? Personality disorders who can be really troublesome to us. And isn't this useful to develop our antennae, our feeling systems, so that we can have warning about this? Now, we can't do this when we're tired, of course, and exhausted. So that's another thing that the previous speakers have mentioned, but so useful to keep us out of trouble, to keep us stress-free. We have warnings, intuitive warnings about patients. Yeah, on the books, nothing's wrong with this patient. Anaesthetist said to me today, it's amazing. I just know there's apparently nothing wrong with this patient. I know there's going to be a problem. I just know. And then I have another patient who has all these complications, and one would expect problems, but I somehow feel we're going to sail through this operation. So professionals have intuition all the time, and it can really help us and therefore make our jobs easier. You just have an idea a patient's going to get a side effect with a certain drug, or they might have the wrong medication, or you've missed something, right? Because it's easy to miss things in this busy world of 10-minute consultations. So I think there's a lot we can learn from this intuitive ability called non-verbal communication. And then, every doctor will tell you, they know the moment they meet a patient, really kind of if you're experienced, what's wrong with them. You just know if they're depressed or they're anxious. You have a knowingness of the underlying pathology. And sometimes thoughts and ideas pop into your head about that patient. And this does not mean we do not do our due diligence as doctors. Of course we do. Of course we do tests. Of course we do the normal things. However, it might mean we do the correct test in the beginning without wasting patients' time and insurance companies' money. So this is a really important area that will help us in our job and also in our stress levels. And we have quite a lot of knowledge in this area already. This is me at the coalface in Hong Kong. I'm only in Hong Kong 8 months of the year. I travel the rest of the time, but I still have a lot of patients there. And it's Peter Levine. I'm a SE therapist, somatic experience, Peter Levine, American therapy system. he talks about co-regulation of the nervous system with the patient, co-regulation of the nervous system, attunement. Craniosacral therapy, they talk about melding and synchronization in order to treat their patients. And getting into their reality, R.D. Lang, the psychiatrist. Now, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the expert in death and dying, she noted that some patients, they were all terminal, but some seemed to do much better than others, and she did a bit of research, and it wasn't the ones that her top, very educated intellectual doctors had been doing ward rounds on the day before. The patients who got better were the ones that the cleaning lady had just been in the night before. And she talked to the cleaning lady. She said, "What did you say to those people?" She said, "I didn't. I just sat there. I just sat there for a few minutes and peacefully with them." So much to the annoyance of all her senior doctors, she put the cleaning lady in a top teaching position to teach them what this was and what being present in consciousness with someone and how much good it could do. So I have other examples here, but I think we're all common if we're doctors. Patients, we kind of know what's wrong with them, and then there's this sort of communication. You have a feeling what's wrong with them, maybe underlying emotional pathology causing their disorder. And then somehow when you listen to them and you sit there and you hear them, there's a resonance, right? There's a resonance, and then things get resolved. And I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I suspect this must be what they do all the time. Short story from Asia, you will not have heard. So have a Cambodian patient called Nu walks into my office. She's been fully investigated by the top gastroenterologist for her abdominal pains. No one's helping. And she has this tone of voice of the person who's suffering a lot, but with great acceptance and dignity. And I don't know what it was, but 7 popped into my mind. I said, "What happened when you were age 7? That's it, one question. "Oh," she said, "we were in Cambodia in the killing fields of the Khmer Rouge. What used to happen was the soldiers marched into her village. Now her family were part of the intelligentsia because her father was a doctor, got rounded up, and the soldiers laughed at her. She was age 7. They said, if you go to the left, you can just leave this village. There's a crowd of people. If you go to the left, there's more soldiers and they'll probably shoot you. If you go to the right, there's lots of landmines there." So the family chose to go to the right, and as a 7-year-old, she said, "My memories were people getting blown up and loud noises. It was dark, the middle of the night, and I saw these, the world of the dead became more real than the world of the living to me. I saw these spirits everywhere." And she never told anyone that story before. I guess I triggered the memory, right, by saying, "What happened at age 7? Very specific. Because I'm sure these other specialists who had seen her had gone into this kind of psychosomatic area. And that's all it took. That's all it took, and it's a story that, one of my best stories, I think, because it's kind of poignant. And of course she got better. I guess that's classical catharsis. But this is what happens when you have an intuition just to sometimes say what pops into your head. And just think, okay, how did I know that? So the background science of this is on light, and I'm not going to go into too much of the light, but when we see light, there's a whole light story here. So, okay, we know about light being used in medicine. Professor Whitworth in Glasgow was one of my tutors. He invented the blue light therapy for jaundice babies. We use pulse field, magnetic field therapy in fractures. We use interferential, we use lasers in skin diseases, we use light in seasonal affective disorder. It is not new. The golden age of light was the 19th century. And then with the advent of antibiotics, researching stopped. And we've got all our, light-related diagnostic devices. So as doctors, we're used to dealing with various forms of the electromagnetic frequency. Light. Specifically, what you may not know is our bodies run on pathways of electromagnetic frequencies. So the hands emit magnetic, infrared, gamma, ultraviolet, ultrasound, which of course is not light, They emit huge amounts of energy, more than any other part of the body, from this area in the palm, the Lagong region, that Qigong healers use. And this is perhaps intuitively why we always touch people to comfort them, or put our hands out to stop people. We somehow intuit this. Every enzyme system in our body is triggered by signals of light, and colours are a frequency of the light, and the Nobel Prize winner Albert Gore was convinced light was a nutrient for the body, and he showed that one enzyme was sensitive to one frequency, one colour, thousands of times more than another. We're very sensitive to it. Cell gateways to get potassium and sodium in are triggered by electromagnetic frequencies. Physiologically, red light increases our pulse rate and our respiratory rate. Blue light will slow down our pulse rate and our blood pressure. Has a very different calming effect. We wear food, we wear colour, and we eat colour in the form of food. So the antioxidants in food, the cancer-preventing antioxidants, are in the colour. The lycopene red in the tomatoes. Okay, the blue and purple anthocyanins in grapes and aubergines. So we have a big light story in the body. And I would propose that we are very adept at interfacing and interpreting light fields. In the same way as fish in water, we don't even know we're embedded in this, and yet when electromagnetic energy goes in my eyes, it is converted to chemical energy in the back of my retina, and then to electrical energy in the optic nerve. It's like it's just happening, isn't it? So I'm going to show these slides very quickly. Good old-fashioned mutual inductance, where two circuits, electrical circuits, beside each other, and one will affect the other through inductance. Because this is some of the science behind these mechanisms that we all know as therapists happen all the time. This is like tuning into the patient, being on the same frequency somehow as the patient, understanding their worldview, you could call it. Holographic resonance. If I drop two pebbles in a pond, I've got ripples coming out from one pebble. Now, this is straight physics. We produce electromagnetic energy. Our DNA 5 years ago were found to release photons of light, and we produce this biofield of energy. So does the patient. Guess what? There's an overlapping pattern in the middle. In light physics, you touch one bit of that wave, you get access to the whole wave. Overlapping energy pattern in the middle. Fascinating world, and we've got lots to do in medicine, haven't we? But at the end of the day, this is the cold face. The doctor-patient relationship is everything. Quite a few tools involved in this that I just put here for anyone who wants to have a look at it. But presence, focus, distributional consciousness is what they teach conductors. Conductors maybe have at least, how many instruments in an orchestra? At least 10, right? And they've got to have them all in their consciousness at the same time. So anyway, I think my 15 minutes is up, and thank you for letting me share this with you.